Yes, it's news time at Waters and Stanton, your ham radio store. We've got some interesting ham radio topics which I'm sure you'll find interesting. So, let's get on with it. Well, first, rather sad story or sad news to announce the passing of Bob Heil. Bob Heil was probably as famous in ham radio as Louis Varney G5RV. Everybody knows Bob Heil's name, associated of course with microphones. And Bob Heil started off his career in the music business. He was providing all sorts of audio equipment, amplifiers and so forth, I believe, for the audio industry and particularly for the pop bands of the day. And he was his name was quite big if you were in the music industry in the USA, particularly if you were doing live performances. Then Bob Heil was the guy to go with the big amplifiers and also later on the microphones. We represented Bob Heil for many years, probably about 30 years plus, both on the ham radio market, and probably not all of you know that we represented him in the professional market. We supplied a lot of professional microphones to music groups, artists, live performances, announcers and this sort of thing. And his professional microphones were entirely dynamic moving coil microphones. And he achieved a quality in the dynamic microphone market that was very close to the very wide frequency range and transparency of the condenser microphones. And Bob's microphones were really ideal for announcement. The articulation was superb, and also particularly for close miking of instruments. So it's really sad that Bob has passed, and I've spent many times chatting with Bob. We used to go out for meals when I was over at Dayton, and we brought him over a couple of times to the UK, and he gave lectures at the ham radio convention that we have in end of September, beginning of October, and he was there and chatting to hams, and also, as I say, giving talks on his products, his amateur radio microphones, because the amateur radio microphone is the one that you will know, the headsets and so forth, and he was very well known for that, and very well respected. And I think there's not many DXpeditions that didn't at one time or another use a Heil microphone or probably Heil headset. So it's a sad day to announce that Bob Heil passed away a few days ago. Now, on a somewhat brighter note, my very good friend Martin Dew, the founder of MFJ Enterprises, has just celebrated his 80th birthday. I'm just 1 year ahead of Martin, but I've known Martin for many, many years. We started handling MFJ products shortly after we started the company, and been in touch with MFJ ever since. And I think we've brought more MFJ into the country than probably any other dealer in Europe. And at one time we were the world's largest importer of MFJ products. But Martin is a very clever guy, you know. He started from scratch about the same time as we started our company, actually. But I think he was a bit cleverer than me, actually, because he was a really well-trained engineer, and he had some great inventions right from the beginning. His very first product was a little amplifier for CW. It was a little bandpass audio filter for CW, and we sold loads of those. Martin developed his company, and now in Mississippi it's a massive, great company with quite a big complex there. Well, not only does MFJ still existed, but he, on the way, bought up a number of different companies. And I've always enjoyed Martin's company. Every time I went to Dayton, I've been to Dayton some 25 times I think, every time I went over to Dayton, we always used to go out for a meal in the evening, and Martin used to like his drink. And I tried to keep up with him, but it was very difficult. But we had some really nice times. But we also had some very serious discussions about products and technology and aerials and that sort of thing. And it's a pleasure to know that Martin has celebrated his 80th birthday. Martin's got a very dry sense of humour. In a recent text, he said that I've reached the age of 80 and I fear that I might be approaching my midlife crisis. Not quite sure how I should handle it. Well, all I can say, Martin, is that I'm handling it okay. If that's when you reach that age, you reach a midlife crisis, then I'm handling it okay. Anyway, if you're watching this, Martin, belated happy birthday to you. Take care, and many more years to come. By the way, I got a tremendous response to the video I did about CW Morse code operation, and it's quite encouraging that the number of CW operators that are around, and they really do enjoy that side of the hobby. And there's a lot that actually want to learn CW, and I think perhaps I've encouraged a few to give it a go and see how they get on. And I personally have been operating CW now for the last 2 or 3 months, almost entirely CW down the bottom end of the bands. For one reason I do enjoy it, and the other reason is it's quite interesting to check out propagation, because it's interesting to rag chew with some of these weak stations and just test out propagation. You're sort of working on the margin, really, so it's quite interesting. I will come back to that at a later date. I haven't done much operating over the last week because unfortunately my wife has been in hospital having quite a serious operation, but she's out now, and I've learned how to operate the washing machine and the dishwasher and all the other domestic appliances that I've never previously touched. There we are. Anyway, things are getting on. By the way, talking about propagation, went on 40 metres last night with my half-size G5RV, which is about 25 foot above the ground. Put out a CQ and I got a reply from Slovenia. Interesting actually, because the guy was using a mag loop. It wasn't that strong, but CW made it through. And then immediately I was called by a station in Brazil who gave me 579. So that wasn't low angle. Another example of multi-hop. Do you use a spider pole or some similar fiberglass pole for erecting antennas or supporting antennas? Well, there's a very interesting video that I saw recently on the site of GM0OPX. He publishes some very useful and practical YouTube videos, and there's one showing how he has supported his telescopic fiberglass pole. And I suggest you check it out because it's quite useful. The good thing about his channel is he is very practical, but he's very meticulous in the way that he chooses materials to do his various things that he makes and so forth. So check it out. That's a GM0OPX. Some good news from Yaesu. They've launched their new cashback. Includes quite a few radios actually. It includes the FTDX101MP, the FTDX101D, the FTDX10, the FT991A, the FT710AESS, which I reviewed recently, and its companion, the FT710 Field, for VHF and UHF, FTM500DE, and the handheld, the FT5DE. You should find full details on our website now, so if you want to save yourself a bit of money and you want to buy Yaesu, this might be a good time to buy it. And don't forget that as well as the cashback, you can also part exchange. So if you've got a radio that you want to part exchange, you can part exchange that and take advantage of the Yaesu cashback. How does it work? Well, basically, you send a copy of your invoice from us. You pay the full price, our full price, our discounted price. You pay that price. You send a copy of your invoice to Yaesu UK, and they will send you a payment back, which is anything from what do we got here? £260 is the largest, down to £45 for the smaller items. So if, for example, you're going to buy the FTDX 101 MP, you get a whacking £260 check back from Yaesu, and the same for the FTDX 101D. What's the FT991A? The FT991A, you get £85 back, and both the versions of the FT710, you get a check for £85. So it's a good time to buy Yaesu. While we're talking about good prices and bargains, I've mentioned a couple of times in recent videos about the ARRL antenna book. It's really the Bible of HF, or rather antenna design, antenna propagation, and all stations in between. And I've also said that it's quite expensive to buy over here. Well, I was quite surprised. I went onto Amazon, and to my amazement, it is priced at £62.95p, I think, including postage. Now that seems to be a jolly good deal. I think it's the latest edition. It's 4 volumes, and it's the 25th edition, which I think is the latest edition. Check it out anyway. But I was quite surprised, because that is I know it's £62 is a lot of money, but if you look at the price that it would cost you to buy over here, it's getting off for twice that amount. Not quite twice, that's exaggeration, but I think it's £99, unless you're a member of the RSGB. But if I'm reading right, I think I am, you can get that antenna book direct from the USA, free delivery, or delivery included, £62.95, so worth checking out. One of the things that we have to do these days is to check out the EMF risk to I suppose ourselves, passers-by, family, etc., etc. And the RSGB have got a very interesting EMF calculator on their website now, and it's very easy to use. It's quite informative actually, because you can put in the antenna that you're using, and there's quite a selection there. They've got the G5RV and verticals and dipoles, whole range of antennas that you can sort of effectively put in the details, and it'll come back with the data. You have to put in the frequency of operation, you have to put in the power that you're running, the type of coax cable you're using, and that takes into account the loss, and it actually shows you basically your effective radiated power that you're radiating, and it will then show you the safety levels, the distances that you should be from the antenna in order to avoid any risk, or avoid a risk that is deemed to be potentially sort of unadvisable. So check that out. It's quite an interesting calculator. It's quite easy to use, and as I say, you can put your coax cable in, your type of coax cable in, it calculates what the loss is depending on the length of your coax cable. You put the height of the antenna, etc., etc. Anyway, take a look. It's quite interesting and it's quite informative. What about new products? Well, out of the blue, we were contacted by DX Engineering in the USA to say they've cancelled their existing UK contract, and they've asked us if we would take on importing their products, and of course we're delighted to. DX Engineering have been around for many years, and they're actually run by a very active DXer, and they make antennas, they make all sorts of equipment, and they also make some interesting hardware. There's across the range really, but the great thing about DX Engineering is a lot of their products are sort of products which are the sort of thing that you can only get from DX Engineering. They're quite good ideas actually. One unit which I did spot is a device which enables you, even if you've only got a single antenna output from your transceiver, you can actually use a separate receiving antenna. It's all switched, and you can do that with a linear as well. So if you've got something like, well, like I've got the FT710, which I love, and I've also got the IC7300. Now both of those have only got single both of those have only got single antenna outputs. That means to say that you can't actually have a separate receiver antenna easily. Well, this device will fit in line and it enables you to have a separate receiving antenna, which is great if you've got a noise problem and you want to have a separate receiving antenna. So it'll appear on our website eventually. It won't appear yet because we haven't got any stock, but it's interesting that they contacted us, and we'd be delighted to represent them. As you're aware, we've now got a license limitation. If you've got a full license, you can run 1000 watts in the UK, and it's important to understand that 1000 watts is the 1000 watts at the feed point of the antenna, not 1000 watts out of your amplifier. So you have to calculate what the coax loss is on a particular band, and then you can work out how much power you can actually run from the amplifier, on the basis that you won't be running more than 1000 watts at the antenna feed point. It's a little bit academic really, because I think most people will actually play safe. But the important thing to remember is that when you add an amplifier, you're adding a significant amount of power, and as soon as you put an amplifier in circuit, then the tolerances of everything needs to be raised considerably. You can't use your 100 watt VSWR meter, you'll burn that out quite easily. Things like coax switches, and of course the most important thing is the antenna connections, the coax cable, the connectors. All of those might survive on 100 watts but could well break down when you feed them with something like 600, 700, 800 or 1000 watts. So be mindful. The actual sort of quality of your connectors and the way you've connected everything must be looked at if you're going to run an amplifier. The other thing is that you've got two choices. You can have an automatic tuned amplifier, which is very popular now, lots and lots of people use them, or you can have a valve amplifier with a Pi network. Now I've gone for the valve amplifier with a Pi network simply because I'm often running antennas like the half-size G3OJV, which is about 3:1 or sometimes a 4:1 VSWR. With a valve amplifier and a Pi network, effectively you've got a built-in manual antenna tuning unit. And if you're likely to have antennas such as a half-size 5 or whatever, and you haven't got a sort of a 1.5 or sort of 1.8 VSWR, you will need some matching ability. Now a valve amplifier will cope quite happily with that. The alternative is have a solid state amplifier and have an antenna matching unit in circuit. The advantage of a solid state amplifier, of course, is that it's immediate. You switch it on, you can talk and you can change bands, and it's just everything happens very, very quickly. With a valve amplifier, you've got two problems. First of all, you've got the warm-up time, and the ACOM one I've got takes around about 2 to 3 minutes to warm up. So you've either got to have it on or be patient if you hear some TX and just wait till you can use the amplifier. And of course the other thing is that with a valve amplifier you've got to manually adjust the tuning on a band by band basis, but that's because you've got a manual antenna tuning unit effectively built in. The solid state one, of course, is instantaneous. You can change bands, so forth. So it's your choice. But do be mindful that if you do have an amplifier, you do need to up your game in terms of the quality of all the connectors and the way you've made all the coax runs, etc., etc. And if you're looking for an amplifier, well, ACOM ones are very, very good. Take a look on our website. We'll be happy to talk to you if you've got any questions. Oh, and what's the next video going to be? Well, almost certainly it's going to be about noise. I've had so many questions about noise, and of course it's something we all suffer, or most of us do anyway. I've had so many questions that I thought I'd do my best to answer the question of noise. How do you deal with it? How can you cure it, etc., etc. There's no magic bullet, but anyway, we'll discuss that in probably the next video. In the meantime, thank you for support on this channel. It's much appreciated. Don't forget to press the subscribe button, and also thank you for your support in the shop and your orders on the website. Much appreciated. We do generally speaking get everything out the same day, and it's usually on a 24-hour delivery. So if you're looking for something, it doesn't matter whether it's a connector, an accessory, or mainline rig, we'll be happy to serve you, and you get the same level of service. So in the meantime, you enjoy your ham radio, take care, and as usual, I'll look forward to seeing you in the next video. Bye for now.